Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lynn.
It's good to see you all this morning. I'm in the Lyle Shields room, and I'm going to try some fancy things to make sure that we're doing the best that we can to connect this work to the public. So if my fancy things backfire, just give me a holler. I also got kicked off the internet a second ago, so I'm a little nervous.
Thanks for being there, Lynn.
It's really nice here, and my chair is so comfortable. This is no kitchen chair.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you all for signing in. The agency staff and visitors and public are encouraged to sign in the chat if you can. Thanks for doing that. So you ready to roll?
Sure.
Okay, I think I'm back again. I hit something trying to make something better on my computer, and the whole thing went away.
Oh no. Oh, it's a wild morning.
Yeah. Lynn, are we ready to start?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
call to order when you're ready.
I have called to order at 9:03 a.m. and my clock says 9:03. So shall we go?
Yes.
Okay, so I apologize if I'm using my computer instead of my iPad this morning, and I don't seem to have the same things on it for Zoom, and I've managed to get rid of it twice already, so if I disappear, that's why. Stephanie, would you do the roll call, please?
Gail Kennedy,
Present.
Deb Rush,
Present.
Georgiana Schuster, Sue Suter,
Present.
Ann Robin,
Present for the moment. Okay, Zoom instructions. Obviously, I need to do that more, and hopefully Georgiana will be able to join us soon. Approval of the agenda. There's one change in the agenda that we need to change the time of the building program evaluation capacity report to a little bit later because they weren't available. With that change, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And I am here. This is Georgiana, and I'm here.
Yay! Welcome, Georgiana.
Yep.
Okay, so we have to voice vote to approve the agenda.
Deb Rush,
Here. Or yes. Yes.
Anna Schuster,
I am, yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Gil Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, citizen input, public participation. We have a very long agenda, but we're happy to have citizen input and public participation. If you can keep your participation to the point and brief, we appreciate it. Who wants to say something?
Hi, I do. My name is Bobby Harakovich. I'm not sure I signed in correctly, so I'll tell you that for the record, I live at 105 East Milford Drive, Urbana, and I'm here today as a Champaign County Forest Preserve District Commissioner. I'm attending on behalf of the Board of Commissioners to ask for your endorsement of the November 3rd Forest Preserve District Limited Rate Tax Increase. Confusing language and ballots, but that's how government works. Our Executive Director, Mary Ellen Wellner, is also online, and I would like to yield the floor to her with your permission to explain briefly why we need this minimal tax increase and your endorsement. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, everyone. I will be brief. As Bobby said, this issue will be on the November ballot. We are seeking a very small increase to our limiting rate. It amounts to about $5.33 for the owner of a $100,000 home. Funds would be used for the maintenance and upkeep of existing facilities at the Champaign County Forest Preserves. The Forest Preserves, again, are Lake of the Woods, Homer Lake, Middle Fork River, Sangamon River, River Bend, and the Kickapoo Rail Trail. We have seen this year more than ever increase in visitation to all of the preserves as people, I think, have realized just how important it is to get outside and have a connection to nature. I mean, it's important all of the time, but even maybe this year as we've all been sort of up inside our homes, kids have been home from school and have needed that outdoor activity in the natural areas of Champaign County. So I want to make sure that people are aware of the ballot initiative. We don't want anyone to get to the polls and not at least have heard about it. You've started maybe to see some yard signs around Champaign County. I hope you have anyway. And again, you know, we just want to make sure that you're aware of the initiative. And certainly if there was a way in the future, I know you have jam-packed agendas. So if there's any time in the future that you can squeeze us into an agenda, we'd love to do a short 10, 15-minute presentation. But even if we don't get that opportunity, I certainly wanted to make you aware of it today and appreciate the opportunity to do so.
Okay, this is Ann Robin. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I will say that as an individual, I have already written a letter of endorsement for the Forest District property tax increase. I think it's a great idea, and I have a yard sign, so that's just me personally. Lynn, I think we failed to put this request on the agenda, and we did have it. We could have put it on the agenda and we didn't. So what's the logistical? Is it possible to add this request to the agenda at this time, or do we have to go back and redo something for
Well, the agenda was already
open
developed
meetings?
when this request came, and I initially sent it out to the whole group. Stephanie may be able to answer the question about procedure. Deb Roosh has her hand up though.
Okay.
I just am very interested, Mary Ellen. I love the forest preserves. We use them a lot. I'm love to support this. I would love also if you, when you came back, if you could give us a presentation about how the forest preserve, how accessible they are to individuals with IDD, and what long-term plans the Forest Preserve District might have to increase the potential for the individuals we serve to use those properties.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to be able to, we can come back maybe on your next meeting and we'll focus the presentation specifically in that way. That would be, I would love to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Ann Robin again. Is it possible to add this to the agenda at this time, Stephanie, or do we have to wait and publish it? Stephanie?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. What exactly are you wanting to add?
Well, there has been a request that the DD board as a board endorse this, which I think is a kind of a major thing. We haven't really done that before. And I apologize that we didn't get this on the agenda.
Okay, you could not do that today then.
Okay,
I mean,
So what-
she could talk about it and you all could listen to her, but no action could be taken.
okay. Thank you for that, Stephanie. So what we can do is we can, as individuals, endorse this. And we can talk about it officially at our next meeting, which is prior to the election, although not that much prior to the election. And some people are going to be voting early, like me.
And
Okay,
that's,
thank you.
yeah, that's great. And if we can get on your October agenda, that would be fantastic. And, you know, certainly I can put my email address in the chat. And then if anybody has questions in the meantime that you would want me to answer, you know, so just shoot me an email. I'm happy to reply to anybody individually. You can share the information among yourselves, et cetera.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about all of the facilities. I'm very familiar with Homer Lake, and Homer Lake is very wheelchair accessible. It's one of the most wheelchair accessible parks, and Lake of the Woods has wheelchair accessible things too that are very good.
Yeah, we've made it a priority and to receive, and fortunately, we've been able to receive some nice grant funding to build some projects, add some accessible features here over the last, say, dozen years or so. There's a pier at River Bend that's fully accessible for fishing. We've just completed, not even completed really, a new boat launch here at Lake of the Woods that's fully accessible. In fact, it's not quite done yet. But it has been a high priority for us to make these projects accessible, particularly since much of it was built before that was a priority. So yeah, it's been a high priority for us here recently.
Thank you for that.
And, excuse me, this is Sue. I think it also would be interesting to hear from our community agencies if their relationship with the Forest Preserve. They have any programs, that kind of thing. At October.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Is there anyone else that wants to make a statement from the community, citizen input? All right. I am not hearing any. So we'll move on to item 6, which is chairperson's comments. And I did have just a couple of brief comments. First, I want to thank everyone for being here. I apologize for my lack of ability with the Zoom format, and I'm using my personal computer instead of my iPad, so I'm confused about things. Second, this is a very long agenda, and I apologize for how long the agenda is, but Lynn and I talked it over and decided that we would rather do one long meeting rather than 2 shorter meetings, but we'll try to move things along and keep it a little shorter in the future. And I wrote down what my comments were, and now I can't find the place that I wrote them down. So there were a couple of items of clarification, but those will come up later, and so we'll address those later. Oh, I found my notes. I just want to report to you, thank you for sending in your evaluations for Lynn Canfield. I think we have, and I will put this on the public record, a unanimous thumbs up that we like the work that Lynn's doing. And I have the go ahead from you all to get together with Joe Omasaki and put it on paper and give her her official evaluation. We will be doing that sometime within the next month. So I wanted to let you know that. And the last item that I made a little note about was about email communication and the Open Meetings Act, because I'm trying to be very aware of the limitations of the Open Meetings Act. Because we are a 5-member board, we are allowed to have 2 people talk to each other about anything that is substantive. We are not allowed to have 3 people talk to each other at the same time. So I made a little email list of everybody's emails just so I could send something out to you and say, please look for this or please look for that. It is in no way meant to violate the Open Meetings Act or to discuss anything. We will not discuss anything. And I think I'll just get rid of that. I won't use it so it won't be confusing. So we can just communicate with each other individually, just to clarify that. And those are my remarks. Okay, the next is Executive Director's comments. Lynn?
Hi, so I think this is a really packed agenda. So I really don't need to add a lot of comments, but some of the items are really important. There are some things we've waited a long time to hear about. So they're actually some of the first items. And then we're at this moment in the allocation cycle where we can start planning for the next allocation cycle. So that's other important content here. And some of this we can take up again on October 21st. So anyway, I think that's enough. I also have a staff report at the end of this board packet to kind of fill in just some of the blanks about what I've been up to. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. And your written reports are always good, and the other staff written reports are always very informative, and thank you for those. Okay, next item is approval of the board meeting minutes from July 15, and action is requested. Does anybody?
Moved. So moved.
Okay. Moved and
Second.
seconded? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to voice vote.
Georgiana Schuster,
Approved, yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Gil Kennedy,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Thank you for that. Okay, now the expenditure list, which is just I spent some time looking at this and I was confused. So I just want to clarify a couple of things, and I want to thank Stephanie again for her incredibly detailed hard work on putting this all together. And I think I finally understand how it's done by talking to Lynn. The expenditure list is not generated in the DD office. Am I correct on that?
Right.
Yeah. So there are page numbers at the top of each page, which are not the same as the page numbers on the bottom of the page, which are the ones that Stephanie put in so that she puts it in the whole board packet page numbers. So there's 2 different numbers on the pages, and that was confusing to me. But I think we should look at the numbers that Stephanie put in and use those to reference pages. Those are the numbers that are handwritten on the bottom. And then the other thing that was confusing to me is because it's a report that's generated on a computer and then printed out, sometimes the top of the page is, the second page is a continuation of the page before. So it's a little unclear as to which agency it is that we're looking at. And I don't have mine open here. I think it was around page 12. Do you remember, Lynn, where it was that it was so confusing?
No, exactly right. It was page 11 or 12, depending on what you look
Okay,
at.
so if you look at Stephanie's page 11 and 12, okay, the top of page 12, the header says Developmental Disability Fund, which is us. We are the Developmental Disability Fund. So all of a sudden I'm like, okay, who is this money going to? It says Developmental Disability Fund. How are we paying money to ourselves? I don't understand. And it says connections, employment first, individual family. In fact, that refers to page 11, which is Developmental Services Center. So if you look at Stephanie, page 11, item 22300, Developmental Services Center of Champaign County, that goes over to page 12, Stephanie, page 12, and that is still Developmental Services Center. So with that clarification, I was able to understand the expenditure list. And the other thing that was a little bit unclear to me that I want to clarify is this is just a report. We are voting to accept this report. We are not saying disperse this money. This is money that has been dispersed. We are overseeing the disbursement of this money and making sure that what has been done is exactly what we said should be done, and then we can go forward from there. I hope that helps with clarification because I needed that. Thank you. So with that being said, do we need a vote to approve the expenditure list?
I would like to make a comment on the expenditure list too, going along with what you're talking about. It seemed to me, while I was going over this expenditure list, that, you know, our looking at it and saying, okay, this is fine, is a little cavalier that unless we compare what was spent to what budgeted to be spent, we can't really say, yes, this is fine. So I did a bit of an audit. I checked, you know, 10% of the expenditures to the budget to make sure that what was spent was what's supposed to be spent, and everything checked out. They'll be happy to know, but I just wanted to say that our approving these expenditures really should not be cavalier. We should really look and see if what was spent is what was budgeted to be spent.
Georgiana, thank you very much for those remarks. Other remarks? Discussion? So what I'm hearing from you, Georgiana, and I agree with you, is that we need to have a way of comparing the expenditures to what was actually budgeted. And I think my concern with the expenditure list is really in the format. The format is just, it's difficult. And maybe we can fix that and maybe we can't fix that. But that would be an item for further discussion in the future. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm ready for a motion to approve or accept.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, Stephanie, please.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Gil Kennedy,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes?
Ann Rahman.
Yes.
Oops.
Okay,
We're,
we are now, I want to tell you that Lynn and I got together last week and I put down how many minutes it was going to take to do different things. And we are 1 minute over time for the beginning. So I think that's pretty good. I had counted 20 minutes for this bunch of stuff, and it's only taken 1 minute more. And we got an update on the Forest District tax thing. So that was very good. Now we're ready for new business, and I think we're changing the order because Nicole Allen was not able to be available at this time, so we're going to go immediately to DSC presentation.
Hi there, this is Laura Bennett at DSC. Annette Becker and I will be doing the presentation today. We've been asked to give you guys an overview of community services before, during, and after the COVID-19 shutdown. So we're just going to jump right into that. Next slide, please. Community First supports people in discovering, exploring, or expanding opportunities for personal growth or enrichment through community involvement and connection. Just to give you a brief statement about that. We included a sign here to let you know that church also supports our philosophy and rationale for providing people opportunities to connect with them. And your funding is a very big part of that effort for us. Next slide. Wanted to just give you an overview of how Community First fits into the big picture. DHS CCDDB funded day programs serve over 200 people from Champaign, Urbana, and surrounding communities. In FY20, your funding supported 52 individuals. That's about 25% of the overall. And these 52 people would otherwise have been without any kind of services. So thank you very much. Our services are provided in a variety of community locations and also in Champaign and Urbana. And the program is comprised of a wide range of individuals with wide-ranging abilities, interests, and support needs. And our focus is community connection, and we hope to help people better find out their own interests, hobbies, that kind of thing. Next slide.
All right, good morning, this is Annette. So when this program first started, every person who participated also worked within DSC's in-center programs. And so from its inception, it really has been a program that changes and morphs every year. Effective FY16, we began our current practice of really just opening people primarily for community involvement. And that's in addition to continuing to encourage the current participants to be more involved in the community. So as people secured state funding, they were closed from this grant. New TPCs who participated in community only. And so because of this practice, in FY20, 40% of the program participants are community only. Next slide. So activities take place in a number of locations. It's all based on their choice, helping people connect with the community, opportunities to learn and grow. Next slide. We were asked what some of the most popular groups were, and this is a list of just a handful of the most popular. The Intro to Health Matters is the longest running group. It's now been running every 4-month session for 4 years. And it's actually a curriculum that we use that helps people look at health as a lifestyle and incorporates physical activity, nutrition, lifestyle changes, and it's incredibly popular. Journaling, people are getting more and more interested in self-expression, and that group is very popular. Volunteering at the Idea Store. The Zines was started about 2 years ago, and it is a magazine that is now one of the members of the group is the editor of that, and you know, basically with the support of the leader, puts it together and distributes it. Watercolor painting, also very popular, and that is co-led by one of the participants as well. Next slide. And so the next two slides are actually just kind of a summary of the intro that program participants get when they're choosing groups. And so we provide a list of all 35 groups that are going to be available. Those were based on what people said they were interested in. And then people are able to choose the groups that they want to do. Next slide. And then actually you can go on to the next one as well. That's just another summary of groups. These are some of the things that have been made by the groups. And then you can go on to the next one.
And I will take that one. While our emphasis is on community, we also wanted to just speak to the fact that there are some factors that do affect the amount of time that people spend in the community. And so some of those are just the actual needs of the individuals we support. Some of the people that we work with have physical limitations or personal care issues, other kinds of assistance that may preclude them from being in the community for an extended period of time. Some folks also have some physical limitations or issues that might affect their mobility or their stamina. And there are some behavioral emotional issues that may also come into play if a person is in an unfamiliar or a crowded setting. So we have to factor that into our planning. Additionally, we also have 5 long-standing participants who are adamantly opposed to being out in the community. The main thing they want to do is they want to stay in center and work. And we have tried numerous times to give them different opportunities, but they have declined. So that also plays into the overall percentage of time that people spend in the community. But we just wanted to make folks aware that there are some issues that do affect that. Next slide. Just wanted to give you a breakdown of some of our benchmarks in the past and our last FY20, most recent fiscal year, some of the outcomes. We have goals to provide a certain level of direct service, and we meet that at over 90%, 95% typically. And we also have an objective of the direct service hours we provide, have 50% of that spent in the community. And you can see in the far right our progress on those each quarter. So in FY20, we served 52 people in Community First, and on average, 46% people spent 46% of their time in the community and 54% in center. You can see that the support need and individual preference factors that we previously talked about did have an effect on our hours spent in the community, but we were on target, I think, to meet our goal fourth quarter, and then COVID hit. So we'll go to the next slide.
All right. So like Laura said, you know, we were just kind of cruising along, and then on March 17th, the state shut down for what we thought was going to be 2 weeks, and we thought we can manage that. When it was extended into April, we immediately started looking at how we can modify our groups to be virtual. And, you know, we continued to reach out to people. At that time, we took a survey of the devices or the technical support that people were comfortable with, or, you know, what they had access to. And then in May and June, we started doing virtual classes and activities. And we started with 10 groups in May, and we kept expanding from there. A lot of the time initially was spent just trying to help people get connected with the Zoom groups, helping people get devices if they did not have them. And then people started coming up with their own ideas also for groups that they wanted to do. In June, we sent a survey to the families for feedback, looking at where they were at, how they were doing. We had been, continuing to be in touch with people, but, we wanted to do a formal survey. And then in July, the Illinois Department of Human Services sent out a benefit risk tool in preparation for reopening. And we made phone contact with every family we support to measure risks, their comfort level coming back, what their concerns were. And then in August, we pulled all of that information together and came up with a game plan for how we were going to open, how we were going to do it safely, so that the people we support, as well as staff, had, that we were able to minimize the risk of infection as much as possible. And then on September 8th, we did reopen with, I believe, about 25%. Laura, you can correct me if that's not accurate, but, so we opened, and next slide, please.
Okay.
So staff have been just incredibly flexible. Staff learned how to use Zoom and then taught people how to use it. We had new documentation that was going into effect. We reached out to people. Some people were reaching out to us multiple times per day. Other people, we called multiple times just to make sure that we had contact with them. And so I can't speak highly enough about the staff and just how resilient they were. Next slide. So there have been some pretty amazing Zoom groups. They're doing, you can read these. I won't go through, through all of these, but it ranged from music to sciences to virtual tours, cooking demonstration, reading, fitness of all different levels, art and crafts. I have to say one of the most popular groups, both virtually and in person, has been adult coloring, as well as everybody's favorite bingo. Next slide.
Okay, so a lot of what Annette spoke to was some of the things that happened prior to our shutdown and during our shutdown. And this also occurred during our shutdown, but we had to get some information from people, and Annette mentioned some of this, but I'll just give you a little bit more of an overview of the surveys that we conducted. We initially did one via mail that we had created, and we were gauging people's comfort level and possibility of returning when services resumed, transportation needs, ability to wear a mask, whether they were open to part day or alternate day schedules, that kind of thing. So we sent that out to every person who lived with a family member or lived on their own. We already knew at this point that individuals who resided in group homes would likely not be returning, as they had funding support for remaining at their group home safely. So we had about a 30% response rate from our mailer. But later in the summer, we also had the Illinois DHS's survey tool, the COVID-19 risk benefit discussion tool. And that one we conducted with every person, so about 120 people received a phone call from us, and we went over every question on there, and that questionnaire included health risks and behavioral risks that, you know, and that health risk could be for the person themselves or for their family, and then also their overall comfort with returning. So we got the results of that. We put it in a giant spreadsheet. We categorized things based on where people lived, you know, what kind of services they wanted or we thought would work well for them. And then we kind of use that information to make our decisions. But we did categorize the individuals as returning, interested in virtual services, receiving one-on-one services, or delaying their return. And some of the decisions for that categorization were based on the individual and family needs. On a really big factor was a person's ability to mask and social distance. There are people who are still at home who cannot mask. And so that was a big issue. And then the personal health and behavioral issues also were significant. And then we had to look at the staffing pattern and where people might best fit, and the setting for them that would be a good setting to support them. And the results of the survey were that we had 50% of our individuals returning to some sort of in-person group. We had 18% decide to do virtual learning. We have 14% who are receiving one-on-one services and 18% who are delaying their return. Next slide. And then just this slide discusses a little bit more some of the issues that really do have an effect and on services right now. And a lot of that is that the return rate is, people returning is much lower, but we had to consider the logistics. You know, we had to identify spaces that were big enough to allow people to social distance, and tables or chairs or whatever are at least 6 feet apart. But we did have fixed limitations also on the number of people who could be in that kind of a space. And DHS set the limit at 10 people in a certain, you know, a typical room, if they could be socially distanced. And most of ours are actually 5 people total. We had to consider staffing patterns. We couldn't have a lot of crossover between groups. So people are with the same staff member all day, every day, and in the same room all day, every day, if they are not community-based. We also had to look at, there is a reduced transportation capacity. Buses that formerly carried 11 people now could only carry 3 because of social distancing and barriers that had to be installed. We had to consider the community and what could be available to us. We also had to consider weather. We know that now during, you know, warmer weather, we have more options for being out in the community and being outside and conducting services. But as winter approaches, we know that that will have an effect. And we also had to look at people's access to different forms of technology to participate virtually. And then we also realized that through this shutdown, many people had become more proficient with technology. And so they were more comfortable in having the virtual learning as their option. So yeah, those are some of the things we had to think about.
And so now moving forward, you know, we're continuing to evaluate how things are going, keeping in mind what's going on within Champaign County. And we're in regular contact with public health. You know, for people who have identified as delaying their return, we're continuing to reach out to them. And as soon as they are comfortable returning, then we will initiate their return. When some people first came back, they were not sure if they were going to be able to continue. They had difficulty wearing the masks full days. And we gave people opportunities to step outside. And now, after our second week, everybody's actually doing very well. Everybody's doing well, wearing their masks, maintaining the required social distance. And so we're really happy with the way things are going. We're continuing to do intakes. We're continuing to meet with people on the waiting list. And as we feel more comfortable and go into the next phases, we will continue to open people. Anybody participating in an intake is completing the COVID-19 risk benefit discussion tool with the DSC staff person, so we know the support that will be needed for that person. Next slide. And so these, I've just been so impressed with the staff and the people who are participating in the groups. As they participate in one group, they come up with ideas for trying something new, and the group leader helps them go in that direction. So this is just a sample of the groups that are happening now. I'd like to highlight a couple. The podcast group, just as an example of how things continue to change. So the group leader was just helping them learn how to access podcasts. And now, just 6 weeks later, they have already formed their own podcast that's going to be called Beyond Abilities. They've recorded their first interview. They're basically just looking at themselves as members of the community, and they're going to be doing interviews of different community members, and then they will be posting those. So we're really happy with that, and I will make sure everybody has access to that. So hopefully you'll view us or like us or whatever it is that we're supposed to do with it. Next slide.
Okay, and I just wanted to speak a little bit about how services have changed, especially during this period of time. Before the shutdown, all of our groups were small groups in the community or in center. We did not have virtual learning or virtual connections. We really did not embrace that before the shutdown, and we didn't really have any one-on-one services. During the shutdown, we were really primarily virtual learning. Into the summer, we did have 2 very small groups that we supported, but for the most part, everything was virtual, and we did not, during the shutdown, have any one-on-one services. Upon reopening, we have few smaller groups. We have a lot. Those groups that we have are small, and we have fewer of them than we ever have. We have some virtual learning. Again, a lot of people are more comfortable being at home and connecting with their friends or having opportunities for learning, and they're doing that virtually. And we have introduced some one-on-one support, and you saw the breakdown of that previously. So yeah, that's how things have changed just by the numbers. Next slide. So there have been some real costs and issues that we've had to address as a result of the shutdown and COVID-19 generally. And one of those big ones is that we've had increased costs related to personal protective equipment and supplies. We have a lot more of those, obviously. We do have fewer people participating, and so that has an effect. We do have much smaller groups than we previously did. We are able to provide more one-on-one services. We are providing the virtual opportunities for people, but there are some, expenses associated with that, including Zoom licenses and web cameras and Chromecast, different things to help the experience, go off without a hitch, hopefully. We still have some fixed costs associated with programming. We have utilities, we have rent, we have all the things that are typical in, even though we're in a kind of reduced service capacity. And unfortunately, our workforce retention and recruiting efforts, continue. Those did not get better during the shutdown, and in fact, probably got worse. So we're still contending with that DSP shortage. Next slide. I think we have learned a lot during this time period. So, we are providing services, and we realize that we can change the services that we provide to people. We have fewer people participating in full day in-center or community groups. We have more one-on-one and virtual groups. And we realize that, there are some things that we have to do to be more creative, and we have done that, and we will continue to do that to make sure that we can meet people's needs. We do believe that we'll be able to meet our benchmarks moving forward. And we do recognize, though, that as all of us are, our service system is affected by COVID-19, and we'll adapt to whatever comes next. So we appreciate your support very much. Without it, we would not be where we are. And I'm very, very proud of the people that at DSC and other agencies who have continued to support people during this really difficult time. So thank you for letting us present to you guys.
Thank you, Laura and Annette. That was an incredible presentation. I'm kind of crying right now. So maybe somebody should take over, but that was just so good. And it's such tough times for everybody.
Thank you, Ann. I agree. I think it was a very helpful to me program. There was a lot of information that I learned about the Community First program in particular that I hadn't known before. And I think the thing that was most encouraging to me, and I really want to applaud DSC for what they've done, is the flexibility that I'm seeing in two things in particular. In increasing the one-on-one services. Obviously it was necessary, but it's an incredibly difficult thing to do, to go out and dedicate that much staffing time for one-on-one services. And so I really think that that's terrific. And then the amount of virtual services that you've been able to integrate. I think that that's number one, necessary for the times again, but it's just a wave for the future, that even though we in the future hopefully can come together more in person, it's still going to be a great option to have these virtual services in many different ways, for people who can't attend because of illnesses, for people who, for many different reasons. So I think learning how to do those things has been a benefit of this terrible time. I do have a couple of questions though. Let's see, there's over 200 plus people in the Community First program, correct? Did I get that right?
No, actually, I'm sorry. It's in day program. So in addition to the support that you provide individuals in day program, and I may have misspoken, but in day program, we also have people who are funded by the state of Illinois. And those individuals are individuals who live in group homes and come to us for day services, or may live with their families and come to us for day services, but their support is through the Department of Human Services Medicaid waiver. And then your portion is also a day program, and that's about a quarter of that 200. So about 52 people that were served last fiscal year.
Okay, so I that's clearer, but I think I still understand the same thing. There's 200 plus people in the program, and 52, a quarter of those people are directly served by the money that we give you.
Yes. Yes.
I got it right? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. And of those 5 people who have no desire to be out in the community, I guess that, yes, we'll take that number, but we can't, make people do things they don't want to do. But only 46% of programs are in the community and 54% are in the DSC center.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? If it's a Community First program, why aren't we more out in the community?
I think, some of the issues I spoke to about the other issues that people have, and right now we are in a much reduced capacity with the 200 people. And my part of the program, there's a fewer people that are supported by DDB, but they are part of the whole. And so our staffing pattern supports larger groups, and at times we do not have the full capacity to get everyone out as frequently as we would like, just because of the support needs of everyone that we're serving, in addition to the people that are supported by DDB. I think Annette's part of the program has made an incredible effort to make, and their individuals are typically more independent, and her group is out much more than mine. But the 5 people also from her side of the program who are not wanting to go out, that's hundreds of hours, thousands of hours every quarter that aren't reflected in that community involvement, even from just those 5 people. So anyway, Annette might have more.
Yeah, yes, and the 5 people, they're people who have been long time attendees, and so we want them to have the service that they want. I think one of the other challenges for Laura's program is that for the people who have more significant support needs, they tend to be full-time attenders. And some of the people in our program, our goal has been not to be everything for people, but to be a part of their community outreach. So some of the people in my program who are community only, which is 40% now, they might, an example, we had somebody who was part of our volunteer groups and started volunteering on their own time. So we don't want people to rely solely on us. It's really about how do we help them make that connection with the community, and how do we help them feel comfortable enough to do that without us always being there. And so the people who are community only have a bigger support network, and the people that Laura serves, who tend to be full-time attenders, don't have the ability to access the community as much as the people who are in my program.
Okay. Can you explain to me, Annette, when you mentioned my program and Laura's program? I just didn't quite understand.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So really, Laura's program and my program are kind of a continuum of service. Laura, people in Laura's program have higher support needs, and so the staffing ratio in her program is much higher because some of those support needs might be helping people with personal care needs, helping with eating. Some of them do need more supervision and support. And so a lot of it is just kind of the structure of the program. A lot of the people in the Community First program fall within the groups that staff in my program oversee. Did that answer the question?
It helps, but I'm still a little confused. I'm too concrete here.
Yeah. So
there's a Community First program, and in that there's 2 levels. There's one level that Laura works with. There's another level that Annette works with. Is that it?
And Laura, you may be able to help me.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Laura.
I was just going to say, some of this has been kind of historical, that in previous iterations, people had been funded in a certain way by the state, and then when their funding changed, they stayed with the same individuals and staff members that had previously supported them. And so with regards to the Community First, it has become somewhat more of a continuum where we look at, a person's support needs. In my part of the day program, whether that's state funded or Community First DDB funded, tends to be people who do have more support needs. And so they may have more physical limitations, they may have more behavioral challenges, and my staff are a little bit, they're more proficient, I guess, or have developed some expertise at supporting people with those levels of support needs. And Annette's individuals tend to be more independent and more able to take care of some of their own needs and to get about more independently. So as we serve people, we do look at them and what their interests and needs are, and also which of our parts of the agency are best able to support them. And that's kind of how it's you know, panned out. Of the entire, you know, the people that you support, I think I have about 1/5 of the people that you support, and Annette has, you know, the remainder. So yeah, so I've got 20% of the people that you provide support, or 20% of community first individuals are in my program, and the remainder are in Annette. So you support fewer people that my staff oversee, if that helps.
Okay.
Just one question with that, Laura.
Uh-huh.
So individuals in both programs could either be in center or in the community.
Correct. Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you go back in the slide presentation, slide number 5? I just had written down slide number 5 question. I think the data on there, I just heard too quickly and I wasn't able to take it all in. So I don't have a specific question on that slide, but I just didn't get it all.
Is that the slide where I talked about in the first year, all of the participants in community first, community activities?
It may have been, but I was quick enough to notice that it was numbered number 5 on the left hand of the screen. So that's how I referenced that.
Right.
So, okay.
I think this slide kind of reflects the overall change in how we thought, how we thought about our services several years ago, and how they, you know, in FY15, almost everyone that we supported was based in center, and that they still went out into the community, but their base and our focus was, you know, let's provide services here in center, and then occasionally we'll go out and about.
And I think a lot of that, especially in my program, one of our first challenges was getting people to think differently about what they did with their day and their time. When we, at the beginning in FY15, we started with one group, and we still really struggled with people maintaining their commitment to do groups, or really kind of looking at developing interest in the community. And I think for the first year, and if you go back to the quarterly reports, I'm sure that's reflected that there were a lot of people who said, yeah, I want to do this. And then it's like, no, I just want to stay here and work. And, you know, so I think it's pretty remarkable that from FY15 until FY20, we now have, you know, 40% of the people who don't do any work within DSC's and center programs, and they never have. They only know us as a community-focused program.
And there's 52 people who have only, I'm sorry, this will be my last question so others on the board can ask as well. 52 people who only have CCDDB support. Has that been every single year? Are these the same 52 people, or how does this work?
Yeah, it's not the same people. Some of them remain the same, but what we've found, you know, since the inception of the DDB funding, is that people are on the PUNS list, which is, you know, a requirement of everyone receiving your services, because you are the funder of kind of last resort, second resort, whatever. We want everyone to be state funded if they can be. And so from the PUNS list, people's names are drawn, and then they receive state funding. So as a person gets a home-based support award or a SILA award, they can no longer be supported by your funds. So they move from your funding mechanism to DHS. And then we have to find another person to replace that person so that we can expand our services to the people who do not have state funding, or continue to support people who don't have state funding. So it's more of a, we do have a lot of movement. And, as with all of our programs, we do have people move out of the community. We have people who decide to no longer receive services. And so when that happens, we also look for other people who are on our waiting lists and who need services and who do not have state funding. And so those are the people you support.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's all of my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Gail and Laura and Annette. This is Ann Robin. I'm going to just remind people that we are no longer on schedule. I think that this is a wonderful discussion and a fabulous presentation. And I think Gail's questions were very good and also indicate that we need to have more discussion around this, more education about what's going on with DSC. But I was particularly impressed in how you compared your services pre, during, and post shutdown. And I would suggest that we do this again in, let's say, 6 months or something like that, and then we can have further discussion. I'm going to take the chairperson's prerogative and suggest that we move on, unless there are some really burning questions from the rest of the board. Any board members want to say something right now?
Deb Rouge has her hand up.
Okay.
Really, I think we pretty much covered it. Annette, you have about, so really there are about 20 people or 21 people, 22 people funded by the DDB who are out in the community 100% of the time.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Right about that? Okay. And then I'm a little confused about the 18% who are delayed. Or that 18% of community first participants?
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with the individuals who are being served in home-based services via DHS funding because they're in SILA, right?
No,
okay,
correct.
that was all. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, good clarifications. Thank you. Any other, Lynn, does anybody else have their hand up? Since I can't see that.
I'm so sorry. No, I don't see that. And
Okay.
if you want public input, I don't see anyone else with a hand up either. Oh.
Well, I just, again, want to thank Lynn and Annette for a very informative presentation, and also for the incredible work that you and your staff are doing to help all of these individuals and their families during this difficult time. I think you're a real bright spot in the community.
We want to thank you, and I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to disappear. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Laura.
So we do have another presentation, and I saw that Nicole Allen was available. So I would like to move on to the UIUC Building Program Evaluation Capacity Report, which is a large report from them in paper, which I have not had a chance to look at everything, but we've got it available. It's online and it's on paper, and it's in the public record, so that's a good thing. And I think, Nicole, are you there? And is Mark there, or are you going to give the presentation?
Hi, Ann, we are here. I'm going to see if my screen sharing works, and hopefully it will go off without a hitch. Yes. Okay. Okey-doke. Well, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to work with your board and with your funded agencies. We're going to provide a very brief overview in the interest of time. And as Ann said, you have a report. And our report provides a lot of detail about the specific work we did with each of your funded agencies. So I'm going to focus a bit more sort of big picture here, and we're happy to take any questions if you have the time for them. Just as a general reminder, we have been working on building evaluation capacity. And our goal in doing that is that we leave organizations with the capacity to develop an evaluation that is sustainable and implementable by them over a long period of time. So rather than coming in as external evaluators and developing an evaluation and engaging in that work as outsiders, we're trying to build a system so that people can do that work in an ongoing way. We also have the goal of creating a learning organization, the spirit of a learning organization among the funded agencies of the CCMHB and the CCDDB. And part of what we want to do here is increase people's sense of value around evaluation. The value not only of doing evaluation, because often it's externally required, but because it's something people want to do because it improves programmatic activities. And one of the ways we do this is having organizations present to each other. And if you haven't, you might want to look at the agency's meeting recording where our most recent past partners presented to their peer agencies. They all did a fantastic job. And so that's part of the spirit of building a learning community. We want to develop theory of change logic models with all of your funded programs. We want to engage in targeted partnership so that we do really hands-on consultation with specific agencies. And we also have what's called the consultation bank. And so this is where any funded agency of the board can pose evaluation queries to us. So they might say, we really want to assess this outcome. Are you aware of good measures that could be used to do that? We want to adapt this measure to make it more accessible for the population we want to reach. Can you help us with that? We're trying to come up with a question, you know. So the idea with the evaluation consultation bank is it's not a long-term partnership, but that people can pose questions. And so they're like mini partnerships. Sometimes we've reviewed, you know, an analysis, or we help with an analysis and feed it back to the agency. And we also want to build a buffet of tools so that as we're developing measures for one agency, we put that in the evaluation, there's a Google Doc where these things get shared, and then any agency could use those. So we also want to encourage sharing of tools. So that's just a brief overview of the nature of the 2020 deliverables, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that have changed in 2021. But to remind you, our specific partners from your board this year were the Community Living Program at Community Choices and Community Living Program at Developmental Services Center. And I think we focused in the Developmental Services Center related to apartment services in particular. And I want to say that I just want to say kudos to these organizations. They were fantastic partners, and I was personally amazed by how even when everyone was adjusting to all of the complexities around COVID, they still managed to maintain this partnership. We moved to a virtual space, and we were able to continue our work with all of our partner agencies and complete it. And we recognize they take that on as something additional, you know, and so we deeply appreciate that. So just to sort of give you an overview of the types of things would happen with partners, and as I said, the specifics are in the report, but this is a hands-on process where we're trying to develop an evaluation plan that the program will start to implement and then continue to implement. So that means creating and refining their theory of change logic model. One of your board members actually attended one of our theory of change logic model workshops, and you are always welcome to come to that. That was last fall. We really start here because this is the fundamental skill around identifying what is it that we're trying to achieve? What are our critical outcomes? What are our shorter term outcomes? Why do we think we're going to reach those longer term outcomes? And how do our activities actually link to those shorter term outcomes? So we identify with partners those target outcomes. We then identify and tailor for program use empirically sound measures of the key outcomes of interest to them. And these things can measure not just outcomes that are achieved, but also issues around access and barriers to program participation, issues related to program implementation. So they can be questions about the way services delivered, not just in terms of outcomes, and then of course also outcomes. We created new measures when they didn't exist. So there are times when we're able to go to a measure that exists, that's empirically sound, and sometimes we can adapt it, but sometimes there's nothing out there. And so we will work with the partner to really develop the idea and develop a measure that's appropriate for agency use. We develop data collection processes. So how will this information be gathered, from whom, in what timing? Where will that information be stored? There's issues of confidentiality around data storage. Of course, all of these agencies are very used to dealing with confidentiality. That raises other issues when you're thinking about in terms of data storage from evaluation. And also, how are they going to think about analysis? That's difficult to do in the abstract because often they don't have data in hand by the end of the first year, just a good plan. And then also thinking about how programs will use the data that they collect to improve their programs. So we want to design the evaluation with usage in mind. That is the goal, right? That it's a circle, right? You're not just gathering the information for its own sake or to say it worked or it didn't work, which is often, it's never that clear, but to take that information and then make programmatic adjustments. So what we wanted to also share today was a self-assessment that we did with funded agencies. And we want to share this because it helps us think about and will help you see why we made some of the choices we did thinking about FY21. So we wanted to self-evaluate. We used separate funds for this. We were able to hire a research assistant to assist us with this so that we're taking a look at ourselves in this process. And we had 26 agencies complete the survey, and this is across the Mental Health Board and Developmental Disabilities Board agencies at the time. So this is not just Developmental Disabilities Board agencies because we had just started working with the Developmental Disabilities Board in the fall. So this is across all the agencies. We had 26 reply, and we were pleased to see, and this is just taking stock, that over 80% of the agencies responding, of the 26 agencies responding, said that they are actively assessing outcomes. Over 60% said that they had a logic model in place for their program. I think that's increased greatly since the beginning of this work. And we also, of those who have a logic model, I was personally thrilled that over 80% of them had actually looked at it again. And I say that because sometimes programs will create logic models, but they kind of sit on a shelf. And really, you want to have a logic model be an active living document that reflects your work and that can guide the work, and that certainly guides evaluation. And I was also really impressed to see that over 30% had actually made changes and adjustments to the logic model. And we know that some agencies have done this by coming back to logic model workshops with their logic model and continuing to work on it, which is great. We also asked the key informant from each agency to self-assess on evaluation skills, on evaluation motivation and beliefs. And this sort of speaks to the issue of a learning organization. We're on a 4-point scale where 4 is I strongly agree with these various statements about skills and about beliefs and about motivation to evaluate, that your funded agencies self-assess fairly highly on these dimensions. And I wanted to share some specifics about evaluation skills in particular. So again, on a 4-point scale where 4 is strongly agree that I have these skills in place and 1 is strongly disagree, they self-assessed on all of these dimensions, developing an evaluation plan, clearly stating measurable goals and objectives, identifying strategies, defining outcomes. And I would encourage you to look at this list because it really details all of the different steps that are involved in a targeted partnership, all the way from developing that plan to ultimately presenting findings. But we were struck, by number 1, people feeling a general level of competence, but number 2, the areas where they're feeling a little less or reporting a little less overall competency. And that included, for example, analyzing data, writing an evaluation report, and also conducting an evaluation of their program on their own. So those are things that we really want to be thinking about because they're key to sustainability. So if we create an evaluation plan that's really great with a partner, but they don't have the skills in place to actually utilize the data, it's a gap. So that's something we've been thinking a lot about. One thing we do want to say is that when we ask our partners, 7 past partners, and this does not yet include DD partners because we didn't have Developmental Disabilities Board partners at that time, to self-assess before they worked with the evaluation team and then after, they all indicate greater capacity in various domains of implementing evaluation. And this is just asking them to reflect on where they began and where they headed. So at least they have a perceived gain. And we also asked them to evaluate us on whether we understood programmatic efforts, whether we made an effort to align with those, whether we ensured the skills and information needed were built with the partner, and also whether they had capacity for sustainable evaluation. And overall, these ratings are very good. Our partners generally agree that these things happened, but that rating becomes slightly lower around capacity for sustainable evaluation. So that's something, again, related to the issues I just raised in the previous slide that we're thinking a lot about. So in FY21, given some of our own observations and some of this feedback, we wanted to change our model just slightly so that we still have targeted partners from the Developmental Disabilities Board and the Mental Health Board, but that we also choose partners for ongoing consultation. So choosing a new partner, but also choosing a continuing partner. The other change that we made was that in addition to doing the logic model workshops, we're also going to offer workshops that are specific around data usage. So these are going to be designed in terms of data usage fundamentals. So best practices in creating a data set, how to use Excel. Some agencies are going to have this knowledge, some will not, but it's an effort to push that process forward so that agencies are able to utilize the data that they're gathering effectively. And we always want to remind you, Mark and I are always willing to meet with board members as requested. This is always built in to talk about the uses of evaluation, to talk about the logic modeling process. Even the board could develop a logic model to guide their work, your priorities with regard to evaluation, or efforts that you want to make around instantiating these practices. So that is it. I am open to your questions, and thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. As always, that was a very excellent and to the point presentation. I always feel like I learned something new, even though I've sat through these several times. So thank you very much. And I liked your self-evaluation. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Open up for discussion, questions?
I have a question. This is Georgiana, and I'm, the newest person on the board. And so I know that this was a 5-year program, 5-year evaluation survey program. Have we reached the end of the 5th year? Is it done?
No, so I'm not sure if you're thinking of a different program or a different effort. This is actually we're reporting on our very first year of partnership with the Developmental Disabilities Board. Although we have worked with the Mental Health Board now, we're in our 6th year with the Mental Health Board. So we've been around for a while, and that's partly why Anne is saying she's heard these over and over, because she has heard us present on the evaluation capacity building work more than once. So this was our first year partnering with Developmental Disabilities Board agencies, and it's somewhat different than what you might be used to with an external evaluator. Mark and I both have the capacity to come in and do an evaluation for an agency, but that's often not a sustainable financial model to fund external evaluation for all of the funded agencies of the Developmental Disabilities Board. And so increasingly people have moved to this capacity building model where you're trying to get it so that the agency can sustain a high quality evaluation on a regular basis. And there's so many steps and parts to that, from identifying the questions all the way to then, actualizing that in practice. And so we work with them in a targeted way to develop that skill set, the knowledge set, and all of the logistics to do that implementation after that partnership year. So, so far we've worked with 2 Developmental Disabilities Board agencies, and we hope to continue to work with 1 in the coming year, and then also develop a new partnership. And we have reached out this year to begin those partnerships. Does that help, Georgiana?
Yes, it does.
Other questions from the board? I'm surprised there are not more questions, but thank you very much for that excellent presentation. And we should all spend some time looking at the written report and hopefully pick up more.
Yeah.
Um,
And we are, of course,
if,
happy to come anytime to answer questions after people have had time with the report, or if you want more of a presentation on evaluation capacity building or any piece. So please let us know.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, thank you for making time for us today. So I think I'll move on to new business item C, which is SILA ownership transfer. And Lynn, do you want to make just a couple of clarifying comments about this, or do you want me to say what I think the clarifying comments are?
Well, I guess either way, I can probably do it. I mean, we practiced. Thank you, Anne.
We did.
So I may be able to do it more briefly than the decision memo. Essentially, the Mental Health Board back in 2014 had the statutory authority to borrow money to purchase houses. The DD Board did not. So the Mental Health Board borrowed the money to purchase these houses. And the DD Board shares ownership, like you have all the same authorities and entitlement to half the money. So, or half the value. But then as we've been working through a number of reviews of basically the real estate attorney who worked on this with us back in the day passed away suddenly. We engaged with a new attorney, which is Dan Walsh, to review all of the documents related to the SILA. And we've done some things already. The Mental Health Board paid off the full note. So they own title to these two properties. And then Dan discovered in the statutes that it would be a whole lot more appropriate if the DD Board owned the actual buildings. So the named on the title would be you instead of the Mental Health Board. So at this point, Barb Mann is representing the DD Board and Dan Walsh, the Mental Health Board, if you approve a transfer of title. And the Mental Health Board also has to approve the transfer of title. One thing that this does, in addition to just cleaning up little, just getting us more well aligned with statute, is prepare for the possible sale of the homes, if that were the fate of the homes. At this time, I don't know what direction we're headed with this project. A really beautiful house came available 2 weeks ago that would be a perfect third SILA, but we have not been talking about expansion. We still have the agency that provides the services and has since 2015 continues to struggle in this community. We tried to lower the rent a little bit to make that, to soften the blow a little bit, but it was maybe too little too late. We could negotiate further reduction of rent in exchange for some property management services by that service provider. They do that in other communities. So that's one option. But there's also a chance that they will not be able to continue to do business in this community. So for today, we have the maybe clean or easy to explain transfer of title decision to make. But we also may have to make some decisions in the very near future about what to do next. There are 6 people living in those homes. I don't know if the provider agency, if they leave, has a plan to serve those people elsewhere. But one thing you could do is ask us to prepare a new RFP to look for a new SILA provider. It took over 6 months to go through the whole RFP process the last time. So this might seem like jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit, but what could happen if you authorized us to begin preparing the RFP is that we can make sure there's language in it that says we can stop if things start going in a different direction. We can stop an RFP. You can also conduct an RFP all the way through bids. And if you don't like any of the bids, you can stop and start again. So moving in that direction would not actually eliminate the other options. It just creates in the short term a new order of business for us to attend to during the fall meetings. And then, so there are 3 actions that are requested here. And in the middle, the one in the middle is just, if you do authorize the transfer of titles, then some of the contracts where mental health board is named because they're the technical property owner, just need that revision. And then maybe a renegotiation of rent. So I have another document to share on the screen, which shows the motions, and Ann and I had a discussion about the motions themselves could be better. So we have suggested some slightly better worded motion. I think this is the one, right? No, that's another one. Okay, these are the motions that I suggested in that memo. So I think I've said enough. Did I miss anything?
I think that's pretty clear, Lynn. Let's divide them. We need to vote on one at a time. So let's review the first motion, which is the transfer of title. And just to state again, it's been paid off. And the reason that the mental health board was involved at all was because they could borrow money and the DD board could not. So we worked together under our, is it MOA? Got that terminology correct?
It's the same. They actually have, they didn't
yeah.
just for convenience, they also have a stake, a full half, because the mental health board has a responsibility for people with DD as well. So
yeah,
they share all the responsibilities and authorities.
Okay, so the transfer of title is recommended by our legal counsel from both boards and by our executive director, and we need to vote on that now. Can I have a motion?
I'll move to authorize the transfer of the title for each property from the CCMHB to the CCDDB as described above.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? Okay, I think we're ready for a vote. Stephanie?
Gail Kennedy,
Approve.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, so that was a substantive decision. Now the next one is to authorize our executive director, Lynn, to revise related agreements such as rental agreements, etc., related to this transfer of title. Is that accurate, Lynn? Lynn?
Yes, these are there are two service contracts, the leases, the two leases, then there's an insurance policy. I just need to make sure that the DD board is named as the owner, the technical owner.
Okay.
Yeah, the financial responsibility continues to be 50-50.
Okay. Can I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions about this motion? Okay, Stephanie, would you please read the roll call?
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right. Now, the last one has to do with a request for proposals, which is also called RFP, to operate the Scylla facility under a different provider. And as Lynn has explained, the RFPs really take a long time to develop, up to 6 months. We have a volatile situation right now where we're not really sure what's going to happen with the current provider. There are some problems. There are people who are living in the homes that need services. And Lynn would like the flexibility of being able to get another provider in there with the added statement that we could stop that at any time if we decided to get out of the Scylla business. So it's really wide open, but this allows Lynn to proceed with the request for proposals and staff. Is that correct, Lynn?
Yes. It's a,
Can I ask a question? Yes. Are there other providers out there who might respond to our request for proposal?
Georgiana, that is the that is truly the heart of the matter. This was a very particular kind of provider who has a lot of experience serving people with multiple support needs who were in like very, very far away or in institutional settings. So you have asked the $1 million question. I don't know.
Wow. So there's a possibility that this provider, which I forgot the name of already, but if this provider decides not to go on, these 6 people, where will they go?
Well, there's also a chance that the provider would offer those 6 people placements in other communities where they're better able to run the business part of it. So that would be okay. But, you know, originally the spirit was to get these people back closer to their families. So we lose that Champaign County centeredness of it. But if that were to happen, Kim Bowdry has assured me that lots and lots of people are waiting for SILA services in this community. So then you might say, well, we're going to reshape the project around some other group of people who are waiting and need it. So I want to keep those flexibilities open for you since we don't know that answer. And we can write the SILA in that. And we can also revise the SILA, I think, up to 5 days before the listening session, or I don't remember what it's called, but this is a really technical product. We don't do a lot of SILAs or RFPs because they take a really long time. But I thought if there's a chance that we're going to need this, like in January or February, then we're already behind schedule. So I should start giving you some materials to look at, and like actually, you are asking the right questions. We really don't know yet. I'm sorry.
No, I just, this is Sue. I was involved when the original project, and as Lynn said, it's a very complex process, and we can't start soon enough. And I admit it's very concerning to me because we were able to keep some individuals in their community, in our community, and their home communities, which was huge. So anyhow, I think any work that we can do with the complexity of it and the time it takes is well spent.
Okay, any further comments? Did we have a motion yet?
I'll move to authorize the CCDDB, CCMHB Executive Director and staff to prepare an RFP to continue SILA facilities project as delineated in the decision memo, with pending similar direction from the CCMHB.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, any further discussion? All right, Stephanie.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Bill Kennedy,
Yes.
Deb Rouge,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, I believe that really is a lot of the very substantive part of this meeting. We do have another item, item E, the Rosecrans Service Claims Update. And Kim, do you want to make just a couple of comments about what this is and why we have this?
And before we do that,
Yeah.
I know you wanted to make a very brief comment about item D.
Oh, item D, I missed that at the bottom of the page. Review of funding priorities in the 3-year plan. Yes, my very brief comment about that is that it's extremely important, and we are not prepared to do that at this meeting because we have too much on the agenda and we didn't prepare for it, and we're going to address that in our October meeting. So stay tuned for further developments. And I allowed 1 minute for that, and I think that was 30 seconds, even though I forgot it.
Good work.
Okay, Rosecrans Service Claims Update. Kim, are you prepared to make just a brief statement about what this is, why there's an adjustment of the report?
Yeah, I'll be as brief as possible. They automatically pull their claims from the reporting system that they use. They pull those out and upload them into our online reporting system. And there was a glitch. And so they were double reporting and they caught that. And so I have included the corrected claims that were entered into the online system. I'm sorry. It's hard to be brief.
We're smiling because it's funny. Thank you.
So all of the erroneous claims were deleted from the system, and Rosecrans made sure that the claims were correct and re-entered the correct claims. So I just updated you all on the correct services.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there any action required on this? This is just for information.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, now we come to everybody's favorite part of the meeting, which is successes and other agency information. Who wants to say something good? And if we don't have anything, Kim, I'm going to ask your son to come back and do a little online dance for us because he was great.
He's supposed to be doing virtual learning right now.
Oh, darn. Okay, Pace has something.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So I'll try to make this brief, but I just want to share a wonderful news about it. Since the start of the fiscal year and stuff, we started using at Pace to kind of track down successful matches, because you guys provide us funding of recruiting personal support worker in the previous funding and stuff, but this year we wanted to track successful matches and stuff. So that was kind of an additional part, even though the CCDDB is not funding that area, we wanted to see how the successes, how the registry is working. And as of the first quarter, we had 5 PSW that matched to 3 consumers. And so the 2 of them that we have that matched the PSW, they actually found 2 for them. So there's 1 and a backup for each one of them. And 1 consumer only chose to pick 1. So, but we continue to provide referrals to everybody. And since the pandemic and stuff, there's a lot more interest to it. And we provide, we can provide here at Pace in-person support. So many of those PSW has come to us, and we provided them with support of filling out access paperwork to make sure that the services is not disrupted. And I am partnering up with other agencies. I was able to, after the PSW has met with me and filled out the access form, I was able to share that via email so that it could be processed and stuff. So many of the consumers that have found a PSW this quarter, first quarter, was giving me feedback that they were pretty happy about the process and actually was able to facilitate the process, even though there is a pandemic, and was very grateful about it. So I just want to share that with you guys. I still have several families that is still looking, but I continually provide them referrals as they call and ask for more names. And I continue to provide online orientation for PSW. Last couple months was only once a month, but this in September I provided 2 online orientation information. So I continually to build names in the PSW registry, at the same time continue to update their information. So it is a moving registry. So some people that are not contacting me during the pandemic does become inactive, but I continue to add new names to it because of the orientation. That's all. I'm hoping.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. Anyone else?
Sue Suter has her hand up.
That was from before, but
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but Mel, thank you. That was that's really important. I appreciate your update.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was worried about the pandemic, but during this first quarter, a lot of people actually reached out to PACE, and we were able to help them find a PSW during this time.
That's good news.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have Becca and Annette.
After you, Becca.
Did you say after me?
Yeah, I'll go after.
Oh, okay, sure. Hi, I'm Becca Obachowski with Community Choices. I just wanted to share just a quick kind of update of sort of how we're kind of evolving with these evolving and strange times. So we in September we sort of got back to a little bit more of our kind of more traditional or sort of traditional way we provide services. So one of the things that we got started, we have scaled back some of our Zoom offerings, and we're still doing one every morning, and then we're doing one on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and those are still just drop-in for all of our members. So we send the links out in the morning, and people are able to join us if they want. They don't need to sign up ahead of time or plan with us to do that. But we've also gotten started with a number of classes and kind of have our schedule sort of filled up with that for the rest of the fall. So we started with 2 classes. One of them is a practical guide to friendships. And so obviously figuring out how to reach out to people and to find places where you can meet people who have shared interests with you and kind of know how to sort of evolve those relationships or grow those relationships if there is somebody can be really challenging in the best of circumstances. And adding some of these new technological aspects to it is also certainly a challenge, but in some ways has actually been really helpful for some of our members. And so we wanted to, for some of the relationships that we have seen sort of start to grow in our Zoom settings, we wanted to give people some additional opportunities to build their skills to keep those relationships going, maybe outside of a realm where we are facilitating that directly. So that we got started with last week. So that's going well so far. And then we also have a current events and news course that we're offering. So this one was also really just kind of taken out of the requests that we had from all of the participants that were joining us on these Zoom calls, who had a lot of questions about things that were going on both in the community, in the state, in the country, in the world. It's been, as we all know, there's been just a wild amount of news to process. And so people were really looking for an opportunity to kind of figure out like, well, what is going on? Where can I ask questions? What sort of news sources can I trust? So we are, we've created a curriculum around that. We are also getting ready to, later this fall in November, we're going to be sort of restarting our partnership with Public Health and Races to do both a healthy sexuality and a healthy relationships course. And those are going to be offered over Zoom. I think both Public Health and Races are doing all of their school-based education opportunities over Zoom. So we're going to kind of link back with them. And we're pretty excited about continuing to be able to offer that. And I think that, again, there will be an aspect of like, well, how do you think about these things in relation to some of the new ways that we're communicating? We're all figuring those things out. So we've also gotten, we're sort of ramping back up our job development. Obviously, that's a challenging area for a lot of people right now, but there are definitely folks that are still interested in looking for jobs. And businesses that are hiring. So we do expect it might be a little bit of a slower process or a little bit different types of negotiation that kind of happen and figuring out what works for people and kind of what responsibilities come along with being out in the community and working in businesses, but we're excited to kind of get back to some of that work with folks as well.
All right, very good. I wasn't sure if, I thought Sue was waving like she was going to ask a question.
I'm sorry, I was waving at my husband.
Oh.
to bring home dinner. Sorry.
That's all right. I was distracted. Kind of as a segue with Becca, we are offering the LEAP training now virtually, and we're just kind of ramping that up, not knowing moving forward, just like employment of people, businesses being open to us coming in and doing training. We're going to do it more creatively. As Laura Bennett had mentioned earlier, hiring during this time has been very challenging, but we were able, I wanted to introduce Greg Schroeder, who is the new Employment First LEAP coordinator. I think we snagged a good one. And so Becca and Ashley and Greg and I are going to be meeting soon to really kind of look at how we meet the new challenges in the post-COVID era. So welcome to Greg.
Thank you. And good morning to all. I know it's been a long meeting, so I'm not going to ramble, but just moved to Champaign County about a month ago and loving it. It's a pleasure joining this community, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Anyone else have anything they want to say? This was very good. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to old business. We do have a decision memorandum for a mini grant update. Kim, do you want to say anything about this, or does anybody have any questions about this? These are changes that had to be made in the mini grants because of the COVID.
Yeah, I can just be very brief. As Ann stated, these are changes due to COVID. One of the requests is just to extend the term of the agreement through 2021 in hopes that this person will be able to attend Camp New Hope. And the other request is that the amount that was approved for Camp New Hope for another person, they'd be allowed to use that for speech therapy, which they've been attending speech therapy already, and it has been going really well. So this person's father is very pleased with those services and would just like to extend that since Camp New Hope is not currently happening.
Okay. Can I hear I guess we have two separate motions. Can I hear
And
yeah.
This is where you and I'm so glad that we reviewed this whole agenda and practiced, because this is where you made a suggestion for a different wording for the motion. So I'm trying to share that screen in order to make it real clear. Do you all see that? It's very slightly different, but it was.
Okay, I see motion to approve extension to the term of mini grant agreement for applicant numbers 17 to December 31, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, Stephanie.
Sue Suter.
Yes.
Bill Kennedy.
Yes.
Deb Ruch.
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster.
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the second motion is approval to use the allocated, the grant allotted to Camp New Hope to purchase speech therapy sessions for applicant number 44.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Stephanie, are you ready?
Bill Kennedy.
Approve.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay. And now we're moving on to the fiscal year 2021 draft budget. And the decision memorandum number 1 is to approve the attached 2021 CCDDB budget with anticipated revenues and expenditures of $4,386,283. So this is just approving the document as a draft.
So you all approved an earlier version of the budget in July, and the county has informed me of some changes since then. So I tried to summarize those in there's a section with bullet points. I think I got them. Mainly the good news is there's more revenue than they're expecting more revenue than they were earlier expecting. So it's always a guess anyway, and it is a budget. So we increased the expenditures primarily in the contributions and grants line. That's the agency allocations. But then we also made some adjustments. I think they mostly are lower in the staff benefits lines. And then there's a new expense that's for 2021, the implementation of the county's electronic records system will be more expensive than it will be in any future year. And that was something we didn't know about when you all when you all approved the July budget. So going all the way back to the beginning of the meeting, that report, that expenditure report that you all look at will very likely be in a much more reader-friendly format with the new electronics records system. And it's possible that you all would be able to look at our financial activities whenever you want to. That's possible. Chris Wilson will be our lead person on that, and he may already know what's possible, but it's a lot of money for the first year, but I think it will give us it will save time, but it will also give us better access and more accountability and transparency, which, yay. Anyway, those were the main changes to that budget.
Thank you, Lynn.
I have a really fundamental question. This is Georgiana. Are these budgets, our draft 2021 budget for the fiscal year of January through December of 2021? Yes, okay.
And if this presentation, if this particular format is not helpful to you or readable to you, there is a whole different way that the county looks at them. And I think I sent you all those documents before, but I'm happy to send them again. They have a whole different narrative about how your work fits in with the county's strategic plan. So it's really for a different audience, but it is available to the public, and I'd be happy to send it to you. It might be, especially Georgiana, since you are an accountant or a finance person, you might like that format better than this one.
I just have to get used to the idea of program year and fiscal year. And if item helps me understand that better, sure, send it to me. I'll be glad to look at it.
And for the benefit of anyone else listening or watching the meeting, that is available on the county board's budget documents. It's on the county website.
I have a question. Lynn, what's the recalculation of staff insurance and other benefits?
The benefit costs were lower than expected. I think that's right.
Okay.
It's such a long time ago that we did this, but I believe we got a better deal on health insurance specifically than was expected. But there are other changes there that might be, it might be just so small, that they kind of balance each other out. The really big news was more revenue and more money for agency contracts.
Okay.
And the electronic records expense.
Can I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Any other questions or points of information? Okay, Stephanie?
Deb Rouge,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes,
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Ian Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next item relates to the 2021 SILA fund budget with anticipated revenues and expenditures of $72,000. Consistent with the terms of the intergovernmental agreement between CCDDB and CCMHB, and contingent on CCMHB action.
Can I just ask, Lynn, how does this?
Any questions about this one?
Yeah, how does this motion, how has it been altered from what we approved previously?
This was really kind of silly for me to even include because it's exactly the same in every way. The total revenues and total expenditures are exactly the same since July. I updated a bit of background information, and because the only place you see that background information is in the budget that you approve, I thought you should approve it again because
Okay.
I didn't want to change a detail, you know, since you'd already revised or you've already approved it. That detail is, there's a little bit, there was a gift to the Mental Health Board years and years ago on behalf of a single person, and it can be used at the discretion of his family. He's a person who lives in a SILA operated by this provider. So they have used quite a bit of that money this year, and I wanted to make sure that was reflected in the most current draft of the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Lynn. Can I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Stephanie?
Georgiana Schuster,
yes,
Sue Suter,
Yes.
Gail Kennedy,
Yes.
Deb Rouge,
Yes.
Ian Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next, I think we have completed the things that we have to vote on. And the next items are more informational. And the next item is a update on the Disability Resource Expo. And we do have a written report about that. Does anybody want to speak to that?
And I just want to add, we talked about this before, the written document is great. It's a great summary. Per our concerns about access, they are going to be closed caption, and the group discussions will have an interpreter.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion about Disability Resource Expo?
Yes, I'm sorry, just one quick question. I noticed that, you know, for next year, the expo will be moved to October. Do we anticipate just leaving it in October, like ongoing years, if all goes smoothly without COVID, or will it return to the spring at some point? Just out of idle curiosity.
It'll be, the steering committee would like it to be in the fall. Spring is hard for staff members and agencies to be able to participate as much, schedule-wise.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is agency 2020 fourth quarter program reports, which are for information and are included in the packet, both electronic and print. Any comments about that? And then we can also include the service data, which is also for information. Any comments about that? And then the next item is the schedule and timeline. And Lynn, I think you had something you wanted to say about this.
I do. I'm sorry to prolong the meeting. I gotta take the mask off too. It's kind of getting to me.
Well, you're in there all by yourself, aren't you?
I'm just trying to be careful. So,
well, I know you're being a good role model with your mask on, but if you're in an office by yourself, public health says that you can be in the office by yourself with no mask on. So you can use your computer, you can talk on the phone if you're in the room by yourself, and you're in a very large room by yourself. So I think it's okay. Try to keep your hands off your face, which is hard to do, especially if it's sweating after you have the mask on. And keep your hand sanitizer handy.
We've just learned how busy our little hands are all the time, right?
We have busy, busy fingers.
So I have some terrible news for you all regarding your schedule. And that is that we can't get, I have to sit here in the Lyle Shields room, which is fine, but we can't have access to the room on November 18th. But for a really great reason that I think everyone loves, and that is a blood drive. So I'm not fighting anybody. They should have the blood drive. But we had this meeting scheduled in a different room of Brookins, and we also can't use that room. And that's also for a really good reason, and that's LIHEAP. Like, we love those services. So we don't have a room for November 18th, which seems kind of silly because we have the Zoom link. We could use it, but by law, someone needs to be sitting in the regular meeting room. So I did get the room for November 4th. So if you would like to cancel November 8th and so your next meeting is October 21. We do have, the agenda is shaping up while we talk today. And then November 4th would be very, very soon after, but it might be nice to have a meeting scheduled just in case, especially if we're working on an RFP. Because you'll be approving various phases of the RFP. And then there's also the important priorities for next year. So if you all don't mind that, we can make that change to the schedule.
I have a dental
Go
procedure
ahead.
that whole morning, so just throwing that out there. I'd rather come to the meeting, but I have a dental procedure.
So we have 2 people that cannot make November 4, is that right?
Is somebody other than Deb?
I think it's just me.
Okay.
Should we put it on the schedule and call it tentative?
Okay. Well, the thinking was it would be good to have a monthly meeting on the schedule because this meeting today just ended up being so long, and we would prefer to have plenty of time for discussion but not have quite so many agenda items.
Okay.
So we've got October 21, we've got December 16. Sometimes the December meeting has been canceled, but since the holidays really aren't going to be much this year, people aren't going to go anywhere, I'm going to propose that we keep December 16. Why don't we make November 4 as tentative, and we'll decide how much time do we have to do for open meetings? 2 weeks, a week?
You have technically 48 hours, but we like to get you the board packets a week in advance since they are pretty dense. So we just do the notice a week in advance too. But we could do it with 48 hours notice, and it could be that you have business continuing from October 21, so it's not, doesn't require a big board packet, something like that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for obliging me here.
All right, so we have October 21 and December 16 for sure, and November 4 is a question mark. And it would be sort of an extra meeting if we need it.
So we will not meet on the 18th of November. That's out.
We will not. We will definitely not meet on the 18th because Lynn cannot sit in the legally approved room because those rooms got taken by somebody else. And it's a requirement that she be there.
Yeah, we tried to.
And why she can't be in her own office, I don't, well, no, somebody might walk in. They won't walk in because we can't have the room.
It's possible. That is a possibility. I didn't discuss that with the attorneys, but I think that would be within the rule.
If you could be in your own office and direct people to come to the mental health office.
I don't really want to stretch things if it's okay to do it this other way.
Okay. So November is up for grabs. We'll definitely meet in October and December. Okay. Is there anything else? I've got CCMHB input. Is there any?
They meet this evening and they have roughly the same agenda. Of course, the SILA issues are kind of burning, but they also have a very big board packet and lots of discussion topics. And this is it's the time of the year where they're also working on thinking about the next phase of the 3-year plan and the next wave of priorities. So that's for tonight and September 30th. They'll also be working on that.
Okay. And staff reports are included in the packet. And I want to again thank staff for their excellent reports and their excellent work.
Can I just comment there? I really appreciate the thoroughness of the information Chandra gave us this week, and I do plan on spending some time looking into some of those resources. Thank you, Chandra.
Thank you, Chandra.
You're welcome.
I have a question back to the schedule. The September 30th study session, is that for all of us?
That's on the Mental Health Board schedule, is that correct?
Yeah, that's a mental health board study session. You are always welcome to attend though. But
that's a mental health board?
Yeah. We put that schedule in your book because you're welcome to attend those meetings too. They're going to be talking about funding priorities next year. Actually, what they have is they're going to look at the funding priorities from this current year. You have a version of that document in this board packet, like where it's just a look back at what you're funding right now and what the priorities are that they're under. So that's what they'll be looking at next week. You're always welcome to come to their meetings.
Okay.
Are there any board announcements? Anybody doing anything good they want to talk about? Personal successes?
Nice.
Well, I want to thank everybody for their forbearance. And actually, we got through the whole thing in just over 2 hours. I've got about 2 hours and 11 minutes, according to my watch. So I think that's pretty impressive. And I also want to thank the presenters from the university and from Developmental Services for their excellent presentations and answering questions. Do we need an official statement that we're adjourned, or we just click off?
Yeah.
Good question.
You can just adjourn the meeting.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.
Thank you, Anne.
Thanks, Anne.
Everybody else, have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.